Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now August 14th of 2023, and given that there's a lot of things happening right now over at Disney between Bob Iger and the board of directors, and let's not forget about everything happening in between with the executives as well. There's a lot of big things happening with this company that's just becoming a big mockery, and it just goes to show us that Disney has not got a clue on exactly how to handle their situation of dealing with this constant downward trend. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. And let's get right into the subject, shall we? Now, one major problem that Disney is facing right now are, of course, the fact that not only are they dealing with multiple backlashes from different fandoms, whether it be the MCU, Star Wars, or even just fans of the original Disney stories that were animated throughout many and multiple decades out there that are being adapted into live action in the worst way possible, mind you. You know, Little Mermaid was just the beginning, Snow White is the next level. But this is where things get even worse. Now, we know that Bob Iger is doubling down on his cost containment plan, and it just gets worse and worse as time goes on. Now, I've said this many times. Bob Iger, in my eyes, as far as I'm concerned, is the worst Disney CEO of all time in history. He just really is way up there, and his decisions that are being passed down to the Disney board and how they're approving this just goes to show you how incompetent they really all are. And it gets further down the road than that. It's really all about BlackRock and Vanguard, if you really want to get down to the weed. But moving here, with Bob Iger and the board moving onwards with the planned Disney Purge, one important development of this is that everything seemingly got 10 times worse for this entire situation. Disney has now reportedly canceled 3 spin-off projects that were going to be connected to the planned Lion King cinematic universe that they were trying to create into becoming a cinematic universe much like Marvel. And though a Lion King sequel remains, the prequel projects focusing on Scar, a Mufasa sequel to the 24 film, and another spin-off centering on the origin tale of Pride Rock have now been completely axed as part of the Disney Purge of projects and employees as they embrace smaller scale projects and less projects moving onwards. Now additionally, of course, on top of that, there was a spin-off prequel to The Little Mermaid that was going to focus on Ursula, and that has also been cancelled as well. This was going to be a Little Mermaid prequel film focusing on her original tale. Not just that, but thousands of employees are anticipated to get fired by Disney by the second quarter now of 2024, as opposed to the third quarter of that year. Now, the earlier shift has to do with Disney Plus losing 12 million subscribers, as Disney, of course, admitted to this by Bob Iger recently. They are also now in the process of canceling the Dawn of the Jedi Star Wars movie, being led by James Mangold, and are preparing to fire him as a director and a writer, not just because of what happened with Indy 5, but as they want to completely reframe that story and plot outline to something else that will gain more fan interest. Now let me just pause here quick. The fact that they are axing this idea of adapting The Lion King into a cinematic universe is brilliant, but it also goes to show you how cowardly Disney has become with their projects, because they really have no confidence in what they have greenlit behind closed doors that they were going to announce at D23 that are now all falling apart one after the other. Makes you wonder what in the world is going to be announced at this year's T23 event. I know there's been a lot of rumblings out there, and we talked about this a couple days ago. There's been some rumblings that they might even cancel the D23 event altogether because there's so little things to announce, be it for TV shows, movies, whatever have you, and everything going on with SAG and WGA, those strikes, it's not making anything even easier. So I'm going to be intrigued to see how everything turns out next year. Now, the fact that they are moving their plans earlier for firing thousands of Disney employees, this ranges from the corporate ladder to the parks to film crews to everything related to that, all connected. It will actually gain up to thousands of employees getting fired by the higher-ups over at Disney. And of course, they don't care because, look, these are wealthy people, and they don't care about who they fire that are at the very bottom. And so that's, why they have no care in the world about what's happening right now. So the other problem about this is that there's also a lot of issues arising out of Bob Iger. He is the one that made this call for the cost containment plan that really sent a lot of shareholders into panic. Except for the top guys, right? Like BlackRock and Vanguard. They can have no concern about this. Because all they care about is the DEI agenda being promoted and everything happening with ESG. I mean, there's so much to talk about with that. But this is where things get worse. Alright? So moving onwards. Bob Iger is the one who approved all of this, that some Disney employees will be fired also by the end of 2023 for starters. However, it will not make up the majority entering into 2024 for the thousands. This is a result of smaller scale projects being the future for the next 3 whole years by Bob Iger to stabilize Disney, and how the board is canceling all of these movies and shows that are also being put on lockdown for a while. Now, several Disney, Marvel, and Lucasfilm projects are, of course, going to enter different phases, moving onwards. The Little Mermaid sequel is now also facing a cancellation, however, that's not just finalized yet. So, the thing that I find interesting about this is how Disney's like an up and down roller coaster. First, they announced said plans. Second, they have these plans that were to be announced at D23, and now you're having a lot of cancellations, and they also have plans for cinematic universes for Disney movies, which is just utterly ridiculous. I mean, who would want a universe for Snow White, for Lion King, or anything like that? I don't really see where there's a target audience for that. I mean, maybe if it was well crafted in animated form, that could have worked, maybe, and that's a big if. But I just don't see it. I think that a lot of people, common moviegoers, are growing very tired and fatigued over how everything is interconnected in all these universes. So that has to stop. I think everything should just stand on its own for a while. That's just my take on things. So look, at the same exact time, I'm glad that they axed the Ursula spin-off film. That's a good start. The fact that they also canned the Mufasa sequel to the 2024 film, not to be mixed up with the Mufasa 24 movie. They were actually going to make a sequel to that got canceled, and an origin tale of Pride Rock. Like, who would even want to see all this? Like, Pride Rock, an origin tale about that? I don't even know. So, I would really love to hear what you all have to say about this entire scenario below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.